At this time, we will now begin the public comment period. Out of respect for everyone's time, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes to address all items on the agenda. This will be the only opportunity to address these items on the agenda, and the committee will not conduct separate public comment periods before each item. We have 3 speakers signed up today, and I will start with speaker number 1 is Mark Church. Mark, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You can begin.
All right. First and foremost, thank you. I'm sorry?
First of all, how are you doing, Mark?
I'm surviving COVID-19. I'm home grounded. I feel like a teenager. Gas is cheap, but I can't go anywhere.
All right. Let's talk about your item.
All right. So first and foremost, for everyone on the call, thanks for the opportunity to present a consolidated neighbor's point of view. By way of introduction, I live directly across the street from the proposed site, an active member in our community. I've been with the SNA for 20 years, and I've supported, stumped, and canvassed for Mr. Tunney. My wife and I are raising 3 kids on this block. There's 21 more, so when I say I'm a local full-time engaged resident, I am. As you consider the request today for 1118 Northwest Patterson, I ask you to review the documents I provided to the Sergeant at Arms earlier today. We would like to protect our highly desirable family stroller tree-lined seat, and thus we'd like you to consider the 3 questions as you consider them today. Does the basis of the requested zoning change meet the purpose of such process? Is there an economic hardship that is not self-imposed, or is there a fit-for-purpose limitation, and was it unforeseen? We want to confirm that the neighborhoods groups have spoken and that thus the neighbors still have a voice, and that existing full-time residents are protected by the zoning ordinances and do not support developers and that they carry more weight. So let me break each of these down. Today, the applicants will present to you a beautiful building with all the latest finishes, but what they won't be able to present is any economic hardship that is not self-imposed. Let's be honest. If you want to build a 6,300 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo with 5,000 additional square feet of outdoor space, and let's not forget the rooftop pool, in Chicago's most desired neighborhood, but not as your primary residence, but what the applicants have self-described as a city place to visit or casually use, it's going to be expensive. And I think you'll agree for most people, this would be an economic hardship. But without doubt, it's self-imposed, and the zoning committee should not make the neighborhood bear the brunt of an extravagant lifestyle of a single applicant. Now, to the question of was this unforeseen economic hardship, did the developer not understand the economics of such? The applicant has admitted purchasing the building knowing it was not zoned for this intention. He's never even considered a design with the existing zoning, nor considered other sites with existing zoning for their purpose-built design. Question 2, is the zoning change request to support a fit-for-purpose limitation? Is there a prohibitive attribute about this property under the existing zoning that would limit the applicant's fair and equitable use as it was unforeseen? The answer is no. The applicant simply needs a larger footprint and a larger rent roll to fund an extravagant lifestyle that, as they have determined, is a city place for friends and family to use and eventually potentially a second residence. It should be noted, ironically, there are properties, some as close as 250 feet away, that would support the design and such use of a playpen, but were never considered by the applicant during their search. So this brings me to the last point or question. The neighborhood groups and thus the neighborhoods matter. Please know the neighbors suffer from 1118 West Patterson fatigue. We've met with them multiple times. We are inundated with meeting requests, both in groups and one-on-one, in addition to the Southport Neighborhood Association meeting. And like today,
Chairman.
All right, Mark, your 3 minutes are up. I'm going to move to the speaker number 2, Lisa Iverson. Lisa?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. You can proceed.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to parlay on what, by way of background, my name is Lisa Iverson. I've been a longtime resident on Racine Avenue, right off of Patterson. I've lived here since 1998. I have worked with Tom on many things and have been very active in the community. And just to continue with what Mark was saying, We all have 1118 Patterson fatigue. Twice the SNA's entire membership, the residents, voted no. On August 13th, 2019, 86% voted against it. On June 8th of this year, 70% voted against it. So it's an overwhelming decision that the neighborhood does not want this. With such overwhelming opposition, we, the neighbors, request that you support the Southport neighbors and deny this request. This is a commercial building on residential property, which sends a very dangerous precedent. The residents don't want this. I know density is desired in Lakeview. There are plenty of other places to build this. Build it somewhere else, not on a residential street. We don't need more density on a block where we already have Wrigley Field and Hotel Zachary, which provides plenty of density. It's an already crowded neighborhood, and we ask that you listen to the residents who have voted against this. And we ask that this commercial building be moved to a non-residential street. Another issue is we've talked about adding restrictive covenants. The restrictive covenant added does not go far enough to protect the neighbors from large groups of people gathering on the rooftop every week. The noise is going to be very disruptive to the residents who live on Patterson, and it will spill out onto Racine. There's going to be a huge rooftop with a big pool, which, as Mark said, is just going to be a party playpen. We don't need that. We already have the noise from Wrigley, from the concerts, from the games. We don't need added noise. So we residents, are we protected by the zoning ordinance? If an applicant only has self-imposed economic hardships, should the neighborhood bear the brunt of one applicant's desired and extravagant lifestyle? If there's such a plan to permanently change the Chicago or Lakeview neighborhood, please include us in an overall plan instead of on a property-by-property basis. So we ask that you deny this request, put this commercial piece of property onto a non-residential street, and please listen to the residents and what the neighborhood wants. We thank you very much for your time and consideration, and we hope that everyone stays safe and well.
Thank you, Lisa. Our third speaker, and I believe our final speaker in the public comment period, is Lawrence Adelson. Lawrence, are you there?
Now I am.
Okay, proceed, Lawrence.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Lawrence Adelson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Chico and Nunes. I represent CSX Transportation, and this is in connection with our support of matter number A-8523. This is a technical amendment or a technical ordinance to extinguish an existing plan development in the 16th Ward, which will set the stage to bring on a new plan development. I'm really mostly here because I wanted to be able to answer any technical questions. I know Alderman Coleman's the sponsor, and she's been great to work with, and she can explain it to you better than I can. So that's all I have to say, but I'm here if there are any questions on the technical aspects of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence, and I know we're going to hear from Alderman Coleman as it is an aldermanic introduction. So you want to stay tuned. We will get there fairly quickly. Okay. I'm seeing no more witnesses. Okay. All right. That will conclude the public commentary portion of the meeting. We'll now move on to the regular agenda. In an effort to minimize technical difficulties and to ensure the committee meeting runs as smoothly as possible, the typical order in which items will be heard has been updated. Throughout the duration of virtual Committee on Zoning meetings, items will be grouped together according to the witness and/or attorney and will be heard in that order rather than in the ward order.
That's coming up later.
Okay. All right. Right here. Okay. Ready. Okay. Speaking of Alderman Stephanie Coleman, we're going to go to the first item on the agenda, that being A, 8523, 16th Ward. Ordinance was referred on February 19th of 2020. Common address, there's various addresses. I think the Alderman will articulate that. The change request is a business plan development number 614 to a B31 community shopping district. And I understand we have a substitute on this item. All right.
Don't move on the
On the substitute.
Don't move on the substitute.
Is that Alderman Raboyes?
Yes.
Alderman Raboyes moves to accept the substitute. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the substitute is accepted and before us. All right. Alderman Beal, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just want to make sure that you have me recorded as present.
Thank you, sir.
We got you.
We do. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Coleman, would you like to, is she got her hand up?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can you talk on the item on your business plan development, please?
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Chairman, and to this esteemed committee. In light of the devastation that has happened throughout our city, and especially in the West Englewood and Chicagoline communities, CXX, when I think of this project, I just think of restored hope and another opportunity of hope and change and development in our community. So, CXX is looking to invest by modernizing a brownfield site that is adjacent to their 59th intermodal facility. I believe that was first built in 1998 and 99 into a larger container space at 63rd and Claremont. What's most impressive is this project will have add additional 20 more jobs, 100 total in our community. They have taken a blighted area that used to be a movie theater, a brownfield space, again at 63rd and Claremont, and will have beautiful landscaping and again, of an abandoned site. We're hoping that this project, there'll be a full presentation in August with the Planning Commission, and that from the project will be set back from Western Avenue and will be a modern, environmentally friendly lighting. It will also assist CXX in handling surge traffic and also the regional mobility of commerce and residents. So we're just excited about this project, and I am in full support of the expansion of the CXX intermodal facility in the 16th Ward.
Alderman, for the benefit of the committee members, could you give the various boundaries of this zoning?
63rd Claremont up until Western.
Okay. And as you said that this.
Oakley, Claremont to Western.
Okay, so this was important to do the zoning change and prior to the Plan Commission, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. We have Alderman Ray Lopez with his hand up. Raymond? Good morning, Raymond.
Forgive me, Chairman. Good morning, committee. I too wish to join my esteemed colleague and Alder neighbor, Stephanie Coleman, in asking for the committee's support for this project. CSX has been a valued and productive member of not only the West Englewood and Englewood communities, but the Gage Park community as well, having helped benefit the neighborhoods with their community partnership and neighborhood agreement, but also being available to many of our churches and not-for-profits as well. I'm very happy to see that my colleague Alderman Coleman is moving to help strengthen their productivity and connectivity to our neighborhoods, and kindly ask for everyone's support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I do not have any other hands up, so no more questions. Do I have a motion to move to pass on the item?
So move.
So move, Chairman Thomas.
Moved by Alderman Dowell, I believe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion chair, the ayes have it, and the item is passed as amended. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman. All right. Next item is number 20417, T1, in the 33rd Ward. Ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. Common address is 4255 through 57 North Sacramento. The change request, an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RM5 residential multi-unit district. We have Alderman. Well, we have a letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez, but Nick Fatikas. Nick, you want to?
Chairman, again, thank you. Nick Fatikas from the Law Offices of Sam Banks. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and property owner regarding the zoning change proposed at 4255 through 57 North Sacramento in the 33rd Ward. The property today is improved with a 6-unit residential building, and the zoning change would allow the applicant to permit 2 additional dwelling units in the garden level for a total of 8. Our plan incorporates 2 new parking spaces at the rear of the lot. We have worked with the Alderman's office as well as local community groups, and we do have a letter of support from the Alderman. I believe it was, you referenced it, but it was provided yesterday ahead of today's hearing.
Questions from committee members? As I said, we do have a letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. Hearing no questions, can I get a motion move to pass on the item?
So moved by Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Lopez moves to pass. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion chair, the ayes have it. The item is passed. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay with you. Now we're moving to the 30th Ward, item number 20350. The ordinance was referred on February 19th of 2020. The common address, 4200 West Belmont Avenue, 3202 North Kildare, and 4157 West Melrose. The change request, commercial manufacturing development number 409 to a B22 neighborhood mixed-use district, and then residential plan development number 409 as amended. All right, Nick, do you want to?
Thank you again, Alderman Tunney. Nick Fatikas on behalf of the applicant in this case, which is Noah Properties LLC. The applicant is proposing to purchase and redevelop properties commonly known at 4200 West Belmont, 3202 North Kildare, and 4157 West Melrose, and redevelop the combined site with a total of 67 residential units. The plan calls for 52 townhome units that you can see right in the middle there, a 6-unit building at 3202 North Kildare, and then a 9-unit building at 4157 West Melrose. The reason for the zoning change in this case is PD 409, which was established approximately 20 years ago, was a commercial non-residential plan development. So the proposed change to B22 incorporates this specific plan and would allow the conversion of the plan development to a residential PD. And before I turn the floor back over, Chair, the Planning Commission reviewed and voted to recommend approval of this project back on May 21st, and I would ask that the record from that Planning Commission hearing be incorporated into today's hearing.
Alderman Wagasback moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The records are incorporated. Nick, ready for, well, we have the Alderman here, and this item was at the Plan Commission, and I think it received a favorable vote on it. Alderman Raboyes, would you like to speak on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we know that currently the buildings on this storefront, they're empty. They've been empty for a while now. And it's not a good presentation for the community. In 2017, a community meeting was held and original plans were rejected by the community resident. We went back to the drawing board and brought back almost 2 years later on August 27th of 2019. Another community meeting was held where area residents were able to view the proposed plans and their questions were answered. So as the attorney alluded, we have 52 townhomes, 6 condos, 9 condos, actually 15 total condos. Units are all brick construction with various accent panels to break up the aesthetic look. Townhomes will all have 2 parking spaces. Condos will have at least 1 parking space, and there will be also a visitor parking lot. The affordable requirements ordinance will be at 10%. The owner will also work with me in allowing lower rental units in some of the buildings. There is a significant portion of green space in the community room on the property, as well as new landscape, Belmont, Kildare, and Keeler. On May 21st, the Department of Planning and Development met and approved the project. That was the ZBA, actually, zoning board. Furthermore, I want to thank Emily Troon and Nancy Radzevich for the great work on this project. I also want to thank the community residents who attended these meetings for their input and support. So, Chairman, I ask for a favorable decision on the item before you.
All right.
Move to pass, Alderman. Or
Okay,
Chairman.
well, I don't see any hands up. I see that Alderman Wagasback has moved do pass on the item. I'm going to have a different narrative so we understand that when I ask for the motion, it'll be based on the vote that determined the quorum at the beginning of the meeting. So that's going to be the narrative as we move through these items. And then I'll also make sure that Alderman Beal is recorded as aye. So, all right. So Alderman Wagasback moves passage by the same roll call vote as the vote that determined the quorum.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and this item is passed.
As revised.
As revised. All right, okay. Now, we're going to be moving on to the 25th Ward, item number 20413 T1. Again, 25th Ward, the ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. Common address is 2025 through 27 West 17th Street. The change request is an M12 limited manufacturing business park district to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. We have Rolando Acosta on the line. Rolando, would you like to speak on the plan?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Rolando Acosta. I am the attorney for the applicant. This proposal involves approximately 6,000 square foot vacant lot on the south side of 17th Street on a block that is really all developed with residential properties, but is zoned M12. The proposal is to develop the vacant lot with a 6-unit building with 6 parking spaces. It has the support of Alderman Sitio Lopez. I believe he's also at the meeting. And the proposal is to change the zoning from an M12 to an RM 4.5. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay, thank you, Rolando. So Alderman Raboyes moves to accept the substantive narrative and plans for the type 1 application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed on that one? No?
Aye. Burnett votes aye.
Okay, well, the ayes have it, and now the substantive narrative and plans are accepted. We do have Alderman Sitio Lopez. Would you like to comment on this item, please?
Thank you, Chairman. We are in support of the project. The applicant came in front of the zoning advisory board, and the zoning change is consistent with the area, the zoning around the area. So we're in support of this project. Thank you, Chairman.
Questions for Alderman Sitio Lopez? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to move passage by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum by our committee?
So moved by Riley.
Alderman Riley moves do pass on the motion with the substantive narrative and plans. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? This item is passed as amended with the substitute narrative and plans. All right, thank you, Rolando. We're now going to move to item number 20414 in the children's board. The ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. The common address is 2417 South Christiana Avenue, and the change request, an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. Rolando.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Rolando Acosta here on behalf of the applicant. This matter involves a existing 3-story building with a very tall attic. The owner of the property wishes to build out the attic with an additional unit to provide 4 units on site. It would be, you'd dormer the attic to do so. We have met with the alderman. He is in support of the project, and I believe a letter of support was transmitted to the committee yesterday.
Rolando, we do have that letter.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions from committee members?
I'm not.
Hold on a second. Is that, who's got their hand?
Sure, it's Chairman. It's Cardenas, Alderman of the affected ward. That the
Okay.
items that.
Right.
Yes,
Alderman Cardenas. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I concur with obviously it was my recommendation. If it's within the area zoning, reason is that they need a little bit of more space to be able to do this. So it's to an RM 4.5. So I'm okay with that. It's going to be a netted unit, and I think they're putting quite a bit of a rework on that, and the building's going to look great.
Thank you, Alderman. Questions for the Alderman or the applicant? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move passage by the same roll call vote as that vote that determined quorum this morning?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Alderman Pat Dowell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm with you.
Hearing none, the item is passed. Thank you,
Thank the committee.
Alderman Cardenas.
Thank you in the committee.
All right, now we're moving on to item number 20393, 33rd Ward. Ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. The common address is 3401 through 3425 North California Avenue and 2704 through 2718 West Roscoe Street. Change request, industrial plan development number 1151 to C32 Commercial Manufacturing and Employment District to a waterway business plan development 1151 as amended. And Rolando, this is your item again.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Rolando Acosta here on behalf of the applicant. This amendment to the plan to existing plan development was proposed to allow Chamberlain University, which currently operates a nursing school on the east side of the Chicago River in what is the former DeVry campus south of Lane Tech. And it wishes to move to this location because its current building will be used by the College Prep as its new headquarters and school. This was necessitated because this plan development did not allow for a university. The subject property contains 240,000 square feet of buildings. It was formerly the WMS campus Scientific Games. It's been vacant for about 4 or 5 years. There is a large parking lot containing over 400 parking spaces just south of Roscoe, and the buildings themselves are on the north side of Roscoe, on the east side of California, between California and the Chicago River. Chamberlain would move its university to this location, and the building itself would also be used for other offices to occupy the balance of the space. It is notable in connection with Chamberlain that its parent, Adtalem, is headed by the only female African-American CEO and chairman in the S&P. Adtalem is headed by the only female African-American CEO and chairman in the S&P 400 index. I think given the the current commentary on social justice and equity, it is notable that this institution is way ahead of the curve with having significant African-American and women leadership in its organization. With that, Mr. Chairman, this matter was before the Plan Commission on May 20th, 2020, and I would ask that the record before the Plan Commission be incorporated into the record here. And I'll stand for any questions the committee may have.
All right, so first step is a motion to move passage or to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission, and again, by the same roll call as the quorum vote determined earlier today. Do I have a motion?
Oh,
Who was that? Alderman Raboyes, is that you?
Yes.
Okay, so Alderman Raboyes moves to incorporate the records to the Plan Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so those records are incorporated, and I believe we have, is the Alderman here? Do we have a letter of support?
We have a letter from her. and
So
I
we
not
do.
know if she's on.
We do have a letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. Rolando, just FYI, you know, this is a fairly big project. I'm surprised we don't have slides for the committee members.
My apologies, sir. I will do that in the future. It's existing buildings, but in the future, I will give you slides for larger projects.
Okay, all righty. So is this as revised? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to move to pass as revised by the same roll call vote that determined quorum for this morning's zoning committee. Do I have that motion?
Alderman Kappelman moves to pass.
Alderman Kappelman moves to pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion chair, the ayes have it, and this item will be passed as revised.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Are we on?
Page 5.
Hold on a second.
Middle of page 5.
Okay. All right. Now we're moving to the 20th Ward. Item number 20409. The ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. Common address is 600 East 67th Street. Change request, RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district to a B11 neighborhood shopping district. Do we have Michelle Truesdale?
Yes, good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, Michelle. Would you like to speak on this item in the 20th Ward, please?
I would, thank you. On behalf of the applicant, my name is Michelle M. Truesdale. This matter involves a one-story vacant commercial building where a retail grocery store previously operated but hasn't for about 2 years. It's currently in RT4 district. We're asking for a B11 to reopen a grocery store, approximately 1,800 square feet. Retail grocery store. I have been in contact with the Alderman's office. They did not voice any concerns or objections, so we are asking for approval on our change request.
For the record, would you elaborate what kind of discussions did you have with Alderman?
Sure, the Alderman's office contacted.
We don't have a letter of support here.
Correct. The Alderman's office reached out to me, contacted me, wanted more information in regards to what the applicant was interested in doing in regards to the retail food, or retail grocery store. I told them that I would be happy to meet with them if they had any additional concerns, and I never received any communication back. Are there any questions?
All right. Do we have questions? Okay, so what we're going, well, let me just see. Alderman Haddon has a question.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question, Chair. Which item number are we on?
We are on item number 20409, 20th Ward.
Thank you.
So the applicant has met with Alderman Taylor, answered her questions. We do not have a letter of support on file, and the applicant does not have a letter of support on their file, correct, Michelle?
Correct.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is gonna hold this for a second. We're gonna find somebody from Alderman Taylor's office to see if we can assist you on this item.
Thank you.
Alderman Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was going to be my recommendation. So you're on top of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman. All right, so we're gonna hold, okay, Michelle? And
Yes, I will mute.
thank you very much. All right. All right. Now we're in the 18th Ward, item number 20412. The ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. The common address is 2607 West 71st Street. The change request is a B11 Neighborhood Shopping District to a B21 Neighborhood Mixed Use District. Do we have Mark Kupiak on the line? Do we have him? There he is. Mark.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mark Kupiak, I'm the attorney for the applicant. And the crux of this case is that the subject property is currently and has been improved with a residential building. And the residential building in its current condition has a second floor dormer addition and a rear addition. The applicant bought the building in this condition. It turns out now, upon closer inspection, that there's no permit record for the dormer addition and the rear addition. The problem is that even though it was built as a residential building, used as a residential building, it is non-conforming in the existing B1 district. So he's not able to get a building permit for the dormer and rear addition. The request is to rezone from a B1 to a B2. The residential building with residential on the ground floor would be conforming in the B2. The applicant would be able to get the building permit and continue using the building as is as a 2-flat residential building. We've been in contact and worked with the 18th Ward office to explain our problem and our situation. And I believe the Alderman did send his letter of support to the committee, and we ask for your support.
Mark, we do have a letter of support from Alderman Curtis. We do have a question from Alderman Ray Lopez.
Yes.
Raymond.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Mark.
Morning.
Did I hear correctly that the applicant purchased the building and this is how it was found?
Yes, correct.
So my question, Chairman, is for zoning, our representatives from the zoning department. Once again, we're in this situation where people are buying properties thinking it's one thing and finding out it's not. What progress are we making in trying to address this? Because yet another zoning committee and we're having the same issues. And before they answer, Mark, was there a certificate of zoning that presented at the time of sale that led them to believe it was one or the other?
Alderman, to be honest, I'm not sure offhand. I did not do the real estate closing. They only came to me after the fact. They discovered that there was no permit record. Actually, they've hired an architect who attempted to get a building permit, and he was not able to because of the B1 zoning district. And they've come to me at this point to rezone it and make it conforming. So I'm not sure what was presented at closing.
Thank you. And if the zoning department could update us as to where we're at with presenting something to address this so that we're not having to answer these kind of questions every single zoning meeting, I would appreciate it, Chairman.
Is that Patrick?
Yes, sir.
You want to comment on Alderman Lopez?
Sure. Yes, sir. Alderman, so we're going to search to try to find what the history was for this particular property and what was determined at the time of the sale. By ordinance, they have to produce a certificate that we declare the unit quantity. So I don't know what happened in this real estate transaction, but we'll find out. We do, hundreds of these over the course of every month, and I mean the errors that come across the people, individuals that appeal back to us is a very minor amount, a very small amount of the numbers of appeals that we get back that contest what we determine. But we'll look into the specifics of this one and follow back up through the chairman for an answer for you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mark, do you want to comment?
I just want to add, I'm certainly not suggesting that the city or the zoning department made any mistake on this one. And I would add, even though I didn't do the closing, I've seen sometimes the real estate attorneys, there is a zoning certificate at closing. Sometimes it's not carefully reviewed or presented to the client, and not a big deal is made of it. And sometimes the client's just not aware of what the zoning certificate did say with respect to the number of units. So I'm not suggesting there was a problem with the city, and it could have been the applicant himself or his real estate attorney at closing.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Is that Alderman Beal with his hand up?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if we can impose on the zoning department to maybe make this extremely, crystal clear on the certificate that when the closing is taking place, that it says, and the applicant who's buying the property signs off on knowing that it is a, whatever the use is at that particular time. I think that should be part of the closing process.
Alderman, I don't disagree with you, but as a person who's done many real estate closings, there's probably about 75 pieces of paper that are shuffled in front of the buyer and the seller, and it is kind of it's a process. And but specifically about so that, as you know, and what you're alluding to is people know what they're buying, and people know how many units they're buying and whether it's commercial or residential or such. So appreciate that. And as Patrick says, I know both Patrick, Steve, and the department are all ears on this one. All right. Any other questions? All right. With that, I'm going to need a motion to move passage on this item by the same roll call vote that determined quorum.
So moved.
Alderman Lopez moves do pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, hearing no opposition, the item is passed. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. While we're still on this page, I'm going to go back to item number 20409 in the 20th Ward, the ordinance referred on May 20th of 2020. For the committee members, this was the item in Alderman Jeanette Taylor's ward. We did maintain contact, or we did get contact with her office and her chief of staff. And my belief is that the Alderman Taylor would like to hold on this item. She has not fully opined on it yet, and she would like us to hold on item number 20409. Can I have a motion to defer on that item?
So moved.
That was Alderman Beal, I'm sure. Alderman Beal moves to defer on this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, the item is deferred, and I hope we'll see you, Michelle, at our next meeting.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. You take care.
Okay.
Be well.
You too. All right. Now we're on item number 20402 T1. In the 11th Ward, the ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. The common address is 3422 South Normal Avenue. And the change request from an M12 Limited Manufacturing Business Park District to an RS3 Residential Single Unit Detached House District. John Pekarski. Mr. Pekarski, you're on. John, are you ready? If so, you unmute.
We see you, we just can't hear you.
John, would you unmute yourself? We see you, but we cannot hear you. I said that. John, you need to unmute.
He is unmuted.
He's just not talking. Maybe he doesn't hear us.
Can you hear us, John?
He's just talking about it.
Now, he is talking now.
No, he just muted himself.
Unmute, John. John.
Can you unmute him?
Can we unmute John Pekarski, please? Any chance?
Hello.
There you go.
There you
Gotcha. Okay, sir. John, we're proceed on the item, please.
You're on, John.
John Pekarsky, we're ready to hear from you. We had you there for a second, John. Can you start talking?
Chairman, I don't think he hears us.
We're gonna move on. We're
I
gonna
have
item. We're gonna.
somehow or another got
There you go.
or unmuted.
Now you're good. Keep talking.
Oh, there you are.
There you are, John. Come on, we're start going.
This one.
This is the South Normal. Let's go.
Yes.
Oh, now he muted himself.
Come on.
I call him.
All right. All right. We're gonna hold on John Pekarsky's item on normal, and we'll get back to you, John. All right. Moving on. Item number 20411, 6th Ward. Ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. The common address is 6830 South Michigan Avenue. The change request, RS3, Residential Single Unit Detached House District, to an RT 3.5 Residential 2-Plat Townhouse and Multi-Unit District.
Hello.
I will come back to you, John. Lewis Powell. How about
Is Kareem on here?
Is Kareem or Lewis Powell on this? Well, we're having some technical difficulties, committee. I have to apologize for that, but we don't see him on the list, right?
No.
How about Kareem?
We are here.
We're here.
All right, well, Kareem or Lewis Powell, we need to hear.
We're here. We're here.
Well, we're here for you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Sir.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Louis William Powell III. I'm an attorney with offices at 53 West Jackson, Chicago, Illinois. Ms. Grace Abdul is the owner, applicant, Debo, excuse me, for the map amendment at 6830 South Michigan Avenue. Ms. Abdul is seeking this amendment in order to establish one additional dwelling unit on the property. The unit will be occupied by Ms. Abdul's daughter. This request is to amend the zoning from RS-3 to RT-3.5 by changing all of the RS-3 residential single unit detached house district symbols and indications as shown on map number 16-E to those of a RT-3.5 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district. Ms. Abdul went to Alderman Sawyer, and Mr. Chairman, I believe that you have a support letter from Alderman Sawyer.
Yes, we do have a support letter from Alderman Sawyer.
Thank you very much. The lot measures 25 by 159, and there are 2 units in the building, and this will establish the basement unit for a total of 3 units. We sent public notice to the neighbors and filed an application. We have not heard of any objections to this application. Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm actually here with our zoning consultant, Kareem Russellworth, testified for this body numerous times, and the client is available as well.
Thank you. Let me get questions from committee members, okay? Thank you, Mr. Powell. Do we have questions on this item in Alderman Sawyer's ward? We do have a letter of support from Alderman Sawyer. I don't see any hands up. So can I get a motion to move passage by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum this morning?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Beal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The item is passed by the roll call of the quorum vote. All right. Now,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Now I think we have, we're going to go back to the 11th Ward with Mr. Pekarsky. Let's see if he's checked in. John Pekarsky. John?
All right, someone unmute him.
Unmute, John.
Muted.
There you go.
Okay.
Stay there. You're good.
Okay. Thank you for your sticking with me. This is probably one of the most benign zoning applications that I've ever had. We're seeking to rezone the property from an M12 limited manufacturing district to an R3 single unit district for the purposes of placing, removing a factory that is in highly substandard condition and placing 6 single-family dwelling units on the site. We have met, of course, with the alderman, and we've had a community meeting where a unanimous support was obtained. I would respectfully ask a favorable vote from the committee.
Thank you, John. We do have a letter of support from Alderman Thompson. I see Alderman Michael Rodriguez has his hand up. Michael?
Oh, just move to pass.
Well, first of all, are you?
No, I'm sorry. I raised my hand on accident. Forgive me.
Yeah,
I just
well,
figured I'd chime in.
You're new to the, you're adding your name to the attendees to the meeting, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do I have a motion to move passage by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum this morning?
Move to pass. Alderman Cardona.
Alderman Moore.
Alderman Cardona moves to pass. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the item is passed. Thank you, John, and thank you for your patience also.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now we're in the 5th Ward, number 20416. The ordinance was referred on May 20th of 2020. The common address is 1500 East 71st Street. The change request, an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district to a C12 neighborhood commercial district. Christopher Ford. Mr. Ford, Christopher Ford, do we have him on the attendee? Yes, we do. Going once, Mr. Ford. We will put that one on hold for a second.
Hello, yes.
Oh,
There he is.
okay. You must be coming from a long distance. We got to get the connection right. So, how are you, Mr. Ford? Christopher Ford, you're on.
Now I'm unmuted. Can you guys hear me?
You're good. You're good.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I did have slide. Oh, okay. I see the slides. All right. Hopefully the transitions will work. I'm just going to start. Am I still good?
Yes. Keep talking.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Christopher Ford, and I'm the new owner seeking a zoning amendment from RT4 to C1-2 for a mixed-use property Type 2 application. Okay, so today I will present the property's current state, the rezoning request, and finally the location of the property as it sits on the zoning and land use map today. So the property is located within the 5th Ward on 1500 East 71st Street. The property description has been listed as a 2-12 for its original mixed use in a residential and commercial neighborhood. However, after being vacant for over 18 months, the building has been rezoned to a residential district, and it has lost its commercial mixed-use benefits that complement the surrounding neighborhood. So, for example, the front of the property faces 71st Street and shares a corridor of Stony Island Avenue, along with coffee, retail, as well as automotive businesses, just to name a few. So I am not seeking change to the footprint of the building and the surroundings. Rather, I would very much like to bring back just the integrity of the building. I'm passionate to make this building whole again and keep it open for suitable businesses to have a home. Sorry, waiting for my slide here. There it is. So, as I stated before, the property shares a corridor of other businesses which have a commercial zoning, and I have shown the map here for reference. As you can see, the arrow and the pin indicates my property's location. The commercial zones, of course, are labeled in blue, and I circled in red as well. All right, so I would like to just thank Fifth Ward Alderman Harrison for providing a letter of support, and I believe it was received. Thank you, Chairman, and the members of the committee for the opportunity and your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And yes, we do have a letter of support from Alderman Hairston. For the benefit of the committee members, I believe that this was a commercial. You reestablished a commercial on that, improving the integrity of the building. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have any questions from committee members?
Mr. Chairman, Alderman Villegas, I just have a question. Is there
Alderman Villegas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a presentation? Because I don't see the presentation.
Chairman, I have it on my screen.
Okay.
It's not on our screen.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be a technical problem, but just for the benefit, since Mr. Ford did a very professional presentation. The bottom line is that this building at 71st and Stony was commercial at one time, had been neglected and had been vacant. So what he wants to do is to reestablish the commercial and has the support of Alderman Leslie Hairston. So it's, I believe it's pretty straightforward trying to.
Now.
There we go. Yeah, Chairman, it's on our screen now.
Okay. All right. We're just going to go quickly through it for the benefit of our committee members. Obviously, it was on my screen, but actually, considering the number of applications we get, it was a pretty good presentation, or a very good presentation, I should say.
Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Is that Alderman Wagasback?
Yes, sir. If Mr. Ford could just go to the last page, I think that was his zoning page, or at least the map. That would probably show.
One? Yeah, that one. Is this the one, Scott? Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. I think that was probably the most important one there, just trying to take a look at what's across the street there, but it is C12 or C22. So.
Yeah. And Mr. Ford's on the line. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ford. Is that right there, the Starbucks in that busy intersection at 71st and Stony?
That's correct. That's correct, Chairman.
Well, those of us that take the tollway to Michigan, it's a very busy corner and very commercial. So I think that's fairly appropriate to resurrect this building and bring it commercially back in. So, Scott, do you have any more questions?
No, I just, it was a point of information just to help us with the map.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Alderman Riley.
Alderman Riley moves to pass.
Okay, well, Alderman, let me get the motion to move to pass by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum. Alderman Riley does that. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is passed. Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Now we're going to back to the 33rd Ward, item number 20367. Ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. The common address is 4918 North Drake Avenue, and the change request, an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district. Do we have David Corns on the line? How about David Corns?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Okay, we're on the item on North Drake.
Okay, I'm with Pius Ekpo, the owner. And Pius purchased this property at 4918 North Drake in 1997, a 2-flat with a basement unit. And of course, the basement unit is non-conforming. This is RS3 single family. So he's requesting a change to RT4 so that the basement unit is conforming. And we have a letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. And by the way, I'm the architect. I'm not an attorney. I'm just helping Pius with this. Oops. I can't, sorry. I can't hear you.
Okay, so we have a letter of support from the alderman. Do we have any questions from committee members? Hearing no questions, can I get a motion to move passage by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum this morning?
Move passage, Alderman Cardona.
Alderman Cardona moves to pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Item is passed. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Back out.
More power to you, too. Okay. All right. Now we're going to the 9th Ward, item number 20373. The ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. Common address is 11944 South Prairie Avenue. Change request, RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district. Our witness is Tamara Walker. We have her as an attendee.
Yep, there she is.
Tamara?
Yes.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. Yes. Okay. Could you speak on the item in the 9th Ward, please, on South Prairie?
Yes. Good morning, committee. My name is Tamara Walker, and I represent the owner at 11944 South Prairie. So the property is currently legally zoned 2-flat, and we are looking to have it rezoned to be a legally conforming 3-flat with a basement unit. It would not change the footprint for the building. We have sent out the letters to the owners as required. We have not received any objection. And I believe that the alderman would have a letter of support. I heard from his staff yesterday. I don't personally have it, but I believe that Alderman Beal is in support from what I was told by his staff member Vanessa yesterday.
Right. All right. I believe Alderman Beal is an active committee member this morning. So we're going to hear from Alderman Beal on South Prairie. Alderman Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to make the entire committee jealous with the old-fashioned donut that I have in my hand that I just happen to be eating on, that is back in business in the Roseland community. So I will have some for all of you. Next time we all get together, I will bring old-fashioned donuts to the committee.
Yeah, well, you're an old-fashioned kind of alderman anyway. So.
Mr. Chairman, this is another non-conforming use where the applicant is looking to bring the 2-flat into conformance. It was an illegal conversion, and I support it wholeheartedly so we can bring this into conforming use.
Thank you, Alderman. Questions for the alderman or the applicant?
Alderman Hopkins moves to pass.
Okay, well, the motion from Alderman Hopkins is to move to pass by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum this morning. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Item is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
All right.
On the condition of the donuts.
Is that a quid pro?
We spoil our committee members, you know that. I don't know about the other committees, I'm just talking about zoning, so we'll do donuts. I think I have another pastry item for a future one, Tony, so. All right, so I'm gonna ask Alderman Raboyes, we're on item number 20388. That's in the 44th Ward. Alderman Raboyes, will you take the chair, please?
Chairman, I too want to congratulate Alderman Beal with his reopening of his old-fashioned donuts. An old-fashioned guy. Next item on the agenda is number 20388-2T1 in the 44th Ward. Ordinance referred April 22nd, 2020. Document number 02020-1905. This is a change request from an RT 3.5 residential two-flat townhouse and multi-unit district to an RM 5.5 residential multi-unit district. We should have Paul Kopak here to talk to us about this project. Go ahead, Paul.
Alderman, good morning. This is Paul Kopak. I represent the applicant, Patterson Green LLC, Mr. Marty Kaplan. With me on this webinar is Howard Hirsch, our architect. We're requesting, the property in question is an irregularly shaped lot of approximately 11,906 square feet. The current use of the property, there are two lots, lots 59 and 60, which are improved with an existing residential two-story brick building, and lot 61 is improved with a two-story residential aluminum-sided building with basement. The purpose of the rezoning request is, as you mentioned, to change the current zoning from RT 3.5 to RM 5.5 or Type 1 to construct a four-story, 18-unit residential building with 18 parking spaces. The first floor would contain 3 units, and the parking would be located on the first floor. The second floor has 7 units. Third floor, 7 units. The fourth floor is the penthouse with roof deck. The deck being set back approximately 20 feet from the west to minimize any inconvenience to the neighbors. We are providing 1 loading space, and the building height is 51 feet 8 inches to the underside of the structure of the roof deck access on the 5th floor, and 42 feet to the underside of the last occupied floor. Fully 1/3 of the units will be accessible, and 2 are affordable. What I'd like to do is to take a minute to go over a history of this property, if you wouldn't mind. And that is, this property was originally brought to the community's attention back in June of 18 with a different law firm and a different architect. Mr. Hirsch and I were involved in approximately September 19th of this year, and pursuant to the alderman's concern about the community, we held a number of community groups in September 9th of 19. We met at the grassroots. Then we met again with, these meetings were organized by the Southport Neighbors Association. We met again on October 16th, 19. We had, and that was with specifically with the neighbors living on Patterson. There was a general meeting, again organized by SNA on October 21st, 19. We met again with the neighbors living on Patterson, organized by SNA on April 4th of this year. And lastly, we had a Zoom conference on June 8th with the SNA group. Lastly, there were some comments about this being perhaps viewed as a commercial building. And as I've clearly mentioned, these are 18 residential units. And in order to make further indicating that this is a residential building, my client would agree and has tendered a copy of a restrictive covenant where he would agree that it would be forbidden to use his premises or any portion of the premises for short-term rentals such as offered by Airbnb, 2, the parking spaces serving the premises would not be rented out on a daily basis to non-residents, so there's no ballpark parking or any income generated from there. And lastly, that the roof deck on the premises is to be used for the private use of the penthouse only by the owners or their invited guests. The roof deck may not be rented out or admission charged for the use by third parties. The other reason on this is not a candidate for rooftop deck cub watching. It's not tall enough and the angle would not let you see the ball field. This is primarily going to be utilized for the owner of the penthouse, for his family and his friends. We can accept any questions that you would have for either myself or the architect.
Any questions by members of the committee?
Put my hand up.
Alderman Tunney, like to weigh in?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a question. I can't raise my hand.
Oh, sorry. Alderman Dow.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask the attorney, how are you memorializing that commitment not to have short-term rentals or Airbnb? How's that?
We will record the covenant against the land, and based on that, anybody who purchases a property here, when they receive a title commitment, it will show the restrictive covenant for the records.
All right.
So it will be recorded against the land.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
welcome,
Mr.
Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman Dow. Alderman Tunney.
Thank you, Vice Chair and my committee members. Paul, would you go back to the map, the surrounding map that shows you the close proximity to the field and okay, and this is good. Okay. So for the benefit of my, did all my committee members have that on their screen? Okay, with that being said, you can see the amount of work we did as a city and with our neighbors on Patterson and Racine and Waveland. You are literally a third base to first base pitch from Wrigley Field. You see the Hotel Zachary, which is a 9-story building that houses commercial and obviously I think it's close to 200 rooms. The ballpark is directly across the street. So we're literally at Clark and Addison. Patterson is a half block north, and it's a one-way street that goes right into the ballpark. So in terms of land use planning and such, where we're coming to a disagreement is, while the hotel was a buffer from Wrigley Field to the residential area to the west, we want to keep it residential as a buffer to the rest of the neighborhood. So I allowed this building to go 4 stories instead of, I think it could be 3 under the existing zoning. And most of the block, to be honest with you, is 2 flats or 3 flats. But this property on Patterson, both right, the alley abuts it. We're going to have the same issue with the building right next door with a triangle lot from the Hotel Zachary. And that's been both of these projects have been in front of the community and SNA for many, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years. But our goal is to provide these 2 buildings, both the one we're talking about today and the other side of Patterson, as a buffer to really deaden the noise that comes from Gallagher Way, Hotel Zachary, and the other Clark Street. The area that's right next to this property is a bar. It's called Rizzo's, and the whole block is a commercial, mostly bars and restaurants on the Clark Street side. We have done this along Clark Street, both north and south of Addison, to provide the first building from the alley with a little bit taller than the rest of the block. And I hope that while the neighborhood, after 2 years, maybe more of negotiating, this building came down from, if I'm not mistaken, 24 units with half parking under a B zoning. And I think that was the confusion with one of the witnesses. Originally, they had requested a B2, 3, if I'm not mistaken, Paul.
That's correct, Alderman.
and then we made that change into Rs, making sure that there'd be no commercial activity of any sort permissible. So I hope that it gives you a context with what we're trying to do with our neighborhood, and the investment there is, I think it's healthy for our city and our economy at this point. And I think the covenant will not placate the residents over there, but I think in terms of the city and the overall planning for the neighborhood in Wrigley Field, I think this is a fair, and of course, this project came down a lot since it was initially proposed. So I hope that you committee members understand that what the purpose of what we're trying to do here and its close proximity to Wrigley Field. So I'm happy to entertain any questions. With that being said.
Chairman, I see two hands up. Brian Hopkins, Alderman Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chairman. We all look forward to the post-vaccine world, whenever that is, and 40,000 fans will be filling Wrigley Field again. When that day comes, those 18 parking spots would be extraordinarily valuable on Spot Hero and the other services. In reference to Alderman Dahl's question about restrictions on Airbnb, will there be similar types of restrictions imposed to make sure those 18 parking spots don't become a de facto red top parking lot?
Alderman, this is Paul Kolpak. The restrictive covenant will contain all three of the agreements that my client has indicated. One, obviously, that we won't utilize Airbnb or short-term rentals. Two, that same covenant will be the fact that we will not rent this out on a daily basis. It'll be used for the residents. And three, that the rooftop will not be rented out, and it'll be used for the private use of the applicant and owner of the property. So all of those covenants will be recorded against the land.
And Paul, for the question about the rooftop, obviously the neighbors were concerned. The rooftop is only for the owner's unit on the top floor. So the other 17 units will not be allowed to be using the rooftop.
That's absolutely correct, Alderman. This will be for the owner and his family and friends. It will not be rented out to anybody. There will be no admission charge. It'll be for basically like you would have something in your backyard or on your own roof deck, there's a number of them in your community.
All right, thank you, Councilor. And how will the prohibition specifically on commercializing the parking spots be enforced? I know with Airbnb, we're getting a little bit better at that, with BACP conducting searches for listings, and we're getting some experience in finding those who seek to subvert those prohibitions. I'm not aware of any similar such effort to stop commercial parking from popping up where it's not intended. Can you just address how the prohibition on selling those parking spots to Cub fans might be enforced?
There's actually a license that you have to apply for, which won't be granted. And again, if anybody in the community saw people taking money or went on social media and saw an advertisement saying come park at 1118 Patterson for X number of dollars, they could certainly report that to the city, and the city could come out and certainly fine my client, and it would be a breach of the covenant.
And I think, Alderman Hopkins, that we have a lot of enforcement for these licenses, especially on Cub games. So I think they'll be calling our office before they're calling City Hall, because we go out there almost every night game with additional enforcements. And I think outside of the central business district, there's more tickets written in our ward for RPP or parking violations than any other place in the city. So I hope that we can have that opportunity to fill the ballpark sooner than later. But they know that they're, especially the arduous process they've got to get to this point, I believe that they will be good neighbors, and otherwise they'll hear from our office first. Never mind the covenant. So.
Yeah, your point is valid, Alderman. I'm sure the neighbors on Patterson are going to be watching closely, and they will certainly not hesitate to pick up the phone if they see something that they believe is improper. So thank you for that. And then if you could just, Alderman Tunney, address how you would be dealing with the residential parking zone there. You know, is there a concern about adding 18 residents who will be applying for, you know, the sticker and then getting guest stickers to distribute on games? How will you handle that?
Well, the first thing is, you know, this is, while it's in our zoning, this is very close to the Addison L. So, you know, I think there'll be plenty of ample parking for the residents. There's a 1-to-1 parking ratio. Now, in terms of visitors on Cub games, obviously, as I said earlier, we are in close contact with the 19th district and the Department of Finance. I think that this is, I think this development is actually going to, this parking lot was being used for Cub parking over the years. And I think this development is really going to improve that situation with responsible parkers there. I'm excited about the development. You know, I wish it was 1 story lower, but I think after 2.5 years of working on this project, I think we've come to a reasonable compromise. Obviously, some of our witnesses did not agree with that, but it's not unlike what we've done along Clark Street from Belmont basically to Grace. And you know, I just think this is the future. As you know, Wrigley Field is a lot different today than it was 10 years ago. And some people call it progress, other people call it a commercialization. But this is a residential building that I think will be a handsome addition to the neighbors on Patterson.
Thank you, Alderman Tunney. At the appropriate time, I will submit on your behalf a due pass motion on this matter.
And Chairman Tunney, I do, I understand what you're saying about parking. That was one of the parking spaces when I used to live in that area. I have a hands up by Chairman Osterman.
Thank you. I was going to ask Vice Chair about the census, but I'll pass on that. Just want to commend Alderman Tunney. The logistics of managing this around Wrigley Field for anyone is unbelievable, and however you do it, we tip our hat to you. I just want to commend you on the size of the building and know that it's going to be a buffer for everybody west of there when the Foo Fighters are playing and the sound is going west. I just don't build the buildings too high on Clark Street, otherwise it'll reverberate further north. So, but I support the ordinance and the change.
Thank you, Chairman Osterman. I have anyone else want to speak on this matter? If not, I got a motion on the floor by Alderman Villegas on due pass. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Opinion.
Nice. All right.
Aye, Alderman Burnett, vote aye too.
Alderman Raboyes, thank you very much. Members of the committee, thank you very much for your time and your consideration. Have a nice day.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Raboyes. We are now moving to the 45th Ward, item number 20394. Common address is 3911 through 3985 North Milwaukee Avenue, 4671 through 4777 West Irving Park Road. The change request, plan development number 1321 to a B33 community shopping district, then to plan development number 1321 as amended. Do we have Mr. George?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jack George. I'm an attorney with offices at 71 South Wacker, and I'm here this morning on behalf of the applicant, which is CSD Six Corners LLC. Alderman, you've identified the property, which is at 3911 to 3985 North Milwaukee, 4671 to 4777 on Irving. And it's at the intersection of Six Corners intersection in Portage Park. The zoning for the property presently.
Hold on, Jack, I made a mistake.
Sure.
I need to go back to the 9th Ward because we have a time sensitive matter for Alderman Beal. So I'm gonna move to Alderman Beal. That was my mistake. I was too involved with my 44th Ward application not to recognize Alderman Beal and his need to get out of this meeting. What's him? Jack, will you indulge me on that, sir? I guess you will. All right. Okay. I'm going to move to Alderman Beal, item number 20353, 9th Ward. Ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. We have slides. The common address is 720 East 111th. Change request, business residential institutional plan development number 1167 as amended to business residential institutional plan development number 1167 as amended. Mariah DeGrino. Mariah.
Good afternoon, Chairman Tunney and members of the committee. My name is Mariah DeGrino with the law firm of DLA Piper in Chicago. I, along with my colleague Liz Butler, represent Ryan Companies US, the applicant for a planned development amendment for the property at 720 East 111th Street. The subject property is currently zoned PD 1167 and is comprised of 7 subareas. The requested amendment will modify the boundaries of subareas G and J and will authorize commercial, industrial, warehouse, distribution, and fleet storage uses within the new boundaries of subarea G. This PD amendment was considered and recommended for approval by the Chicago Plan Commission on May 21st, and we would request that the transcript of those proceedings and resolution from the Plan Commission be incorporated into the record here today.
Alderman Villegas moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the last roll call vote of the quorum vote this morning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, the records are incorporated. Mariah, we continue, please?
Absolutely, thank you. The requested changes will facilitate construction of an approximately 144,043 square foot building, regional distribution center with a surface parking lot containing 1,210 vehicular parking spaces, 12 truck trailer parking spaces, 13 loading docks, driveways, and stormwater detention facilities. This proposed development represents a major milestone. This parcel is the last undeveloped parcel in Pullman Park, representing the fulfillment of over 10 years of planning, community, and economic development and construction activity to create an economic engine to revitalize the Pullman neighborhood. Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives has been at the helm of this effort with the support of U.S. Bank, bringing $350 million of new investment and creating nearly 1,300 new jobs, while also bringing shopping, grocery, and restaurant options to the neighborhood. These efforts and investment are paying off. The Metropolitan Planning Council has analyzed data and documented declines in poverty and crime and increases in labor force participation throughout the Pullman neighborhood that outpace neighboring communities. This newest project will help continue those positive trends. Alderman Beal is supportive of the proposed PD amendment, and he is here today to voice his support as well. I respectfully request that the committee recommends City Council approval of the application, and I thank you for your time and consideration of the matter.
Thank you, Mariah. We're going to hear from Alderman Beal, please. Tony, you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is another huge step as far as the continuation of the renaissance that we have going on in the 9th Ward, where we have been able to leverage, $3, $4 million, $100 million of private public investment and create about 1,600 jobs and putting people to work in the community. So we're extremely blessed to have a new partner in the community by the name of Amazon that will be open and operational by October 31st of this year. And I think this is probably the quickest building that has probably ever been built in the city of Chicago. We announced this project a few months ago, and the building is up, the roof is on, and they're looking at having this open and operating by the end of October in time for the holiday season. And so having a partner with Amazon, it was bringing a lot of traffic and a lot of jobs and opportunity. It's going to really help us leverage more restaurants and more hotels that are coming to the South Side. So I'm extremely excited about the progress the Ninth Ward has been making, and I could not have done it without the partners in the community, like the Ryan Company and Mariah with DLA and CNI with David and Sierra. As we move forward, you know, having great partners really makes it easy to get jobs like this done for the betterment of the community. So I do ask for the favorable support of this committee so we can continue the renaissance that we have going on here in the Ninth Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I see Alderman Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to commend my colleague Alderman Beal for bringing this project to fruition. This will bring jobs and economic development to an area that needs both of those things. And we talk about that. There's a lot of talk about bringing jobs and economic development to underserved areas. But Alderman Beal is not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. So I want to commend him for his hard work and his leadership in bringing this project here. And I'm proud to offer a do pass motion.
Thank you, Alderman Hopkins. Alderman Harry Osterman.
I also want to commend Alderman Beal and just ask if there was a commitment on behalf of Amazon to hire residents from your communities and the surrounding communities for the work to build it, but also the jobs once it's built.
Well, thank you. We have an agreement with Walmart to have 100% of these jobs come from the Ninth Ward. Just kidding, just kidding. No, they do have, we do have a commitment that they will hire from the community. And
you meant Amazon. You meant Amazon, right?
Amazon, right. They're a true partner. And you know, they have hired a consultant to make sure that our MBE, WBE numbers are sufficient, and we exceeding that number with the construction of the building. But yes, there is a commitment to hire from the surrounding community in order to, you know, put people to work that desperately need it. So thank you for that.
And thank you. I just think, given the size of the company, I think keeping members of the council informed on how that progress works, I think would be enlightening for all of us as they continue to grow in our city. But again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Alderman Walter Burnett.
Yeah, as we said in the Plan Commission, Alderman, we commend you on all of your hard work. I know there's a lot of hustling involved, making these things happen. You're very persistent in bringing great things to the city of Chicago. This is going to benefit us a lot. Matter of fact, one of the great things that Amazon has been doing, they actually have been helping a lot of people to have their own delivery service. And they don't deliver, they allow for folks to start their own companies. And so I think that's a great thing, and they help them out. So I think this is great for the South Side. And hopefully we can get some West Side folks out there too, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Hey, Alderman Beal, just this came up in the Plan Commission, but for the benefit of the committee members, you know, how many parking spaces, and talk a little bit, or maybe your applicant will talk about the traffic plan, because obviously there's a lot of vehicles and a lot of movement, and
right.
You, seem to think we got this under control.
Well, let me just say there are about 800 parking spaces, and 600 of those parking spaces will be for electric vehicles. So the entire parking lot is being wired for the attachment to plug in electric vehicles. So it just goes to show that Amazon has a commitment towards the future to make sure that they have environmentally safe and friendly vehicles, and they're looking, you know, forward to moving that in this project. And so 600 parking spaces equipped with electric vehicle hookups is really it's a testament to what their vision is as far as the future, and they're at the forefront of it.
Thank you, Alderman. I see Alderman Raboyes with his hand up for a question. Ariel?
I want to congratulate my colleague here. That's like part 2 of Field of Dreams. Congratulations, Alderman.
Well, let me say this. I have worked with Alderman Beal on many of these projects over the years. I did want to highlight in the map, and I hope my committee members have it, about the community center there. Tony, talk a little bit about that, because that's just right next to the Amazon, correct?
Right. The community center is directly across the street from the Amazon, and it is one of the largest indoor sports training facilities in the state. It's probably one of the top 5 in the country, and to have those type of indoor training fields, we have the largest indoor turf fields. We have 3 indoor turf fields and 3 basketball courts. And once the building was built, we were approached by the largest amateur athletic association, AAU. And now the community center is the Midwestern hub headquarters for AAU nationally. And so any tournaments, any things that are happening with AAU come out of the Pullman Community Center. And so that's why with a project like this, with having more activity, that's why there is a huge need to have hotels and more restaurants in the area. And I think this is just going to feed into that. And so when you look at this whole development, it all started with Walmart. And then you see all the other stores and all the other manufacturing businesses that are in it. It's a true testament that the community embraced the vision and the plan, and they have stood by me to be at the helm of this redevelopment along with CNI and DLA in order to make this thing happen. So I couldn't be more happier to see this Amazon come into the 9th Ward in the city of Chicago, to be able to deliver packages within a day or the same day. And it's all coming together from a holistic standpoint, jobs, opportunity, housing, things like that. And it really just goes to show that when you bring opportunities like this, crime is down in the 9th Ward overall by 44%. And it just goes to show, if you invest in the community, you bring resources to the community, give people hope and opportunity, then you will see the results as far as people will embrace this. And nobody wants to commit a crime, but if a person has to feed their family, then they'll do what they have to do. But we want to give them something positive to do and to keep from resorting to crime. And it just goes to show crime is down 44% because of the opportunities that we have brought to the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Beal. And I heard a motion by Alderman Hopkins to pass by the same roll call vote as that determined quorum this morning. Is that correct, Alderman Hopkins? All right. Well, then someone else make the motion, please.
Alderman Kaplan, so moved.
Alderman Ray Lopez moves to pass on the item as amended by the same roll call vote as the committee quorum vote this morning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, and I'll try to make my motions more succinct in the future, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you were a little early there.
Aye.
So, okay. So item is passed as revised. Thank you. Congrats, Alderman, and have a good day. Now we're gonna go back to Mr. George. And again, my apologies. So let me read it again. Item number 20394, 45th Ward ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. The common address 3911 through 3985 North Milwaukee Avenue, 4671 through 4777 West Irving Park Road. Change request, plan development 1321 to B33 Community Shopping District, and then to plan development 1321 as amended. Jack George.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jack George. I'm an attorney with offices at 71 South Wacker, and I'm appearing this morning on behalf of the applicant, which is CSD Six Corners LLC. You've identified the subject property, which is the new development is on the screen right now. The zoning for the property is presently Plan Development 1321, and what we're seeking to do is to amend the underlying zoning to B3-3 and then back to the Plan Development 1321 in order to allow for various commercial uses in all these grocery store and sub-area A. I don't know if you have the sub-area map there. Sub-area A, a 10-story senior housing building with 258 total units. 114, there's the sub-area map is up on the screen now. And so sub-area A will have the 10-story senior housing building with 258 units, 114 of which are independent living units, 98 of which are assisted living units in sub-area C. There are 3 sub-areas within the planned development. Sub-area B is the only thing that's there now, which is currently a bank with a parking facility. What we're seeking to do and this was presented to the Plan Commission back on May the 21st of this year, and I would ask respectfully that the report of proceedings and the documents and other documents that were submitted as part of the plan development proceedings would be incorporated into and made a part of the proceedings before you today, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Raboyes moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the last favorable roll call vote as the quorum zoning committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the records are incorporated. Proceed, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as some background, the applicant was before the committee a year ago with a similar proposal, but that was deferred so that the applicant could work with the new Alderman Jim Gardner, on various concerns that he had raised and the community had raised. Since that time, we have worked closely with Alderman Gardner on this matter. There's been 2 large, well-attended community meetings, also smaller meetings with the neighborhood and other stakeholders. After much work with Alderman Gardner and also the Department of Planning, we were able to obtain the support from Alderman Gardner and the community for this proposed development, which, as I said, has increased the number of independent units from 98 to 114. We've decreased the number of assisted living from 114 down to 98 and 46 memory care units, with the overall number now being 258. There are 11 affordable units required and will be placed on site per the Alderman Gardner. There's a total of approximately 27,000 square feet of retail in sub-area A, which will be the Aldi grocery store, and then 18,000 feet of retail commercial in sub-area C, which is presently the bank building, in which is sub-area C, is going to be our senior housing project. We've worked with the Alderman and the guiding principles of the Six Corners Economic Development Master Plan, where the applicant's using and attracting new businesses. The installation of high-quality materials will be used. We're creating mid-block connections, which was part of the Alderman and the community. We've also had various transportation improvements that we've made to the project, include modifying the existing traffic signal at Irving Park and Kilpatrick to include left turn arrows, multiple curb improvements, and a divvy bike station near the Aldi store. From a sustainable viewpoint, we've now got 100 points from the sustainable matrix for the plan development requirements, and also in accordance with the plan development guidelines of the city of Chicago, we have now the commitment for the goals of 26 and 6, 26 MBE, 6% WBE. The applicant originally intended to have the affordable housing units off-site, but in working with Alderman Gardner, we've agreed to place those affordable units on site. Those affordable units will be consistent with market rate units, but here they will also include a meal plan, all maintenance and utilities and housekeeping services, as well as local transportation and wellness and social programs. The total cost of this building that's depicted on the screen right now is $130 million. The applicant anticipates 650 construction jobs and 200 permanent jobs. It's estimated that the 20-year estimated real estate tax contribution will be $41 million. The applicant is also offering additional community benefits to veterans, where for the first 12 months, any fee for veterans to come into this facility would be waived. The applicant has provided a one-time $100,000 contribution to the Shores High School for scholarship fund, and then is offering 2 internships to Shores High School each year. Over the past months that we've worked on this, we've worked with all of the various agencies of the city, but one of the key things here was working with Alderman Jim Gardner. He really helped, and he's the one that really has allowed this to go forward because of his suggestions, because of the community input that we've received from him. And we're pleased to have this development here today. which incorporates most all of those plans. I'd like to really, on behalf of my client, give special thanks to him for the time and energy he's put in on this project, because it wouldn't have happened without him. And so I believe, other than that, I think it meets all the qualifications of the plan development ordinance and the zoning code. And I would ask on behalf of my client that we respectfully vote in favor of this particular project. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jack. Questions from committee members? Hearing no questions, I have one just for the record, Jack. How many parking spaces and how are they allocated with the commercial and?
There's 216 parking spaces. 122 of them are accessory parking spaces for the seniors. The rest would be used for the Aldi's grocery store and other commercial users.
Well, I know that Alderman Gardner's put a lot of work into this effort. If I'm not mistaken, Alderman Arena, this is a holdover from a previous, from Alderman Arena. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. This was heard previously by Alderman Arena, and then Alderman Gardner took it over after that.
All right. I don't see any questions from committee members. All right. Can I get a motion to move to pass by the last most favorable roll call vote of the quorum?
Move Cardona.
Alderman Cardona so moves it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and this item will be reported out as revised. Thank you, Jack. This is a long time coming for the residents of the 45th Ward. So
It'll be a good.
let's get it built. Passing the zoning is one thing, sir. The financing and everything else, given the time, it's going to be another hurdle, I think. But it's a handsome project, and I know that a lot of work has been put in it by a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
very beautiful.
all right. Thank you. All right. Now we're in the 42nd Ward. Document number 20377. Common address, and they're multiple, so stick with me. 641 through 663 West Madison Street, 641 through 661 West Washington Boulevard, 2 through 40 North Des Plaines Street, 640 through 662 West Madison Street, 541 through 663 West Madison Street, 2 through 40 South Clinton Street, 540 through 718 West Monroe, 1 through 39 South Jefferson Street, and 2 through 40 South Jefferson Street. This change request is a business plan development number 233 to a residential business plan development 233 as amended. Boy, that's a lot of address here. Jack, you want to start the presentation, please?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Again, my name is Jack George. I'm an attorney with offices at 71 South on Wacker. I'm here this morning on behalf of the applicant, which is Napleton Chicago Imports LLC, in connection with this application number 20377. I won't repeat all the addresses. The property is located at the common address 570 West Monroe, which is the corner that you're looking at right now, the depiction on the screen there. And it's located at the base of the presidential towers in the commercial space that was formerly occupied by Walmart. The zoning for the property is residential plan development 233, and this is in sub-area A. This again was before the Plan Commission, Mr. Chairman, on May the 21st of this year, and I would respectfully ask that the report of proceedings and the documents that were used and at that hearing be incorporated into and be made a part of the proceedings before your committee today.
Alderman Villegas moves passage and to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the same roll call vote as this morning's quorum vote at zoning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and records are now incorporated. Continue, Jack.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this is really a technical amendment to residential plan development 233. What we're doing is adding an additional permitted use of that planned development to allow for indoor light equipment sales and rental and motor vehicle repair shops, not including body work, painting, and commercial repairs, to be listed as a permitted use in sub-area A. There's no other changes to the planned development whatsoever. This is a Porsche dealership that would be going into this location. It meets the sustainable matrix. We've complied with that. Again, we're complying with the goals of MBE and WBE for the project. This will create between 40 to 50 new jobs. We've met with the various departments of the city. We met with Alderman Riley. He's given a letter of support on this project. I know of no objections to the project. We think it'll be a good addition to this vacant space on Monroe Street there. And I would ask again for your favorable support and recommendation on this matter. I stand ready to answer any questions that anyone might have concerning it.
Thank you, Jack. Alderman Riley, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Could you speak on this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. As the applicant has stated, this is a technical amendment and not a unique use for this area of the Fulton River District. In fact, there is an existing auto dealership just a few blocks away, which has caused no issues, which likely explains why we've received no negative feedback or letters of opposition to this project. As was mentioned by council, this will not be a location for heavy duty auto body work. That will be done at a remote location, but this will be a general service location for a tire change or a quick tune-up on the computers, that kind of stuff. So again, no objections, and I would urge my colleagues to report this out favorably.
Thank you, Alderman. I don't see any other hands up. I do, just for the record, Jack, what is this, since there's so many addresses, what is the square footage of this dealership?
Square footage, I think, is, I don't know if I have it. It was, hold on just a second. I don't have it on mine.
All right. Well,
Chairman Tunney, this is Alderman Riley.
Alderman, yep.
Although the many addresses suggest it's a gigantic store, it's actually not. The footprint is pretty modest, certainly less than 15,000 square feet.
It's just, we're just taking over the space of the old Walmart retail facility on the first floor. And Alderman Riley is correct. It's not we're not taking over a large space. It's a very.
All right. Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Jack. Other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call vote as the quorum vote this morning?
Move to pass, Sawyer.
Alderman Sawyer moves to pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. This item is passed as revised.
Thank you very much for your help. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Staying in the 42nd Ward, item number 20295. The ordinance was referred on December 18th of 19. Common address 344 North Canal Street, and the change request. DS5 Downtown Service District to a DX5 Downtown Mixed Use District, then to a residential business plan development. Paul Shadle.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Afternoon now.
Or good afternoon, right. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Paul Shadle with the law firm of DLA Piper in Chicago, and along with my colleague Katie Jenke-Dale, I'm representing the applicant in this matter, the Habitat Company. As you noted, the request before the committee is to zone the property as a residential business plan development to accommodate a 343-unit apartment building. This application was considered and recommended for approval during the May 21st, 2020 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, and I would request that the transcript from that hearing be incorporated into the record of this proceeding.
So let me ask, Alderman Villegas is going to moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the favorable roll call of the quorum vote this morning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is adopted, and we can continue, Paul.
Thank you. The location is currently used for a Cassidy Tire auto repair site on Canal Street, just north of Fulton. The proposed project on your screens now is the result of an extensive design review process that was led by Alderman Riley, and I want to thank Alderman Riley and the city's Departments of Planning and Development, Department of Housing, and Department of Transportation for their engagement with the review process. If we move to the next slide, I think you will see the site plan, which shows the location of the property on Canal Street. As I noted, it's a 343 unit apartment building. The developer would purchase a 3.1 FAR bonus with a payment of approximately $3.1 million to the city, and also will make a payment to fund an adjacent rail crossing improvement. We do have available other members of the team, including the chair of the Habitat Company, Dan Levin, and our architect, Vern Lohman from SCB, to answer any questions. But I will stop there and can provide whatever other detail members of the committee would like to hear.
Well, let's hear from Alderman Brenda Riley. Alderman Riley? Make sure we find him. All right. We'll hear from Alderman Riley in just a second. Questions from committee members? Obviously, we have the support of Alderman Riley.
I apologize, Chairman. I'm back. No problem.
Okay, we're talking about Canal Street, sir.
Yeah. Alderman Burnett have a question.
All right, well, let's hear from Alderman Riley and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you. You got me, Chairman?
Yes, we do.
All right. Thank you. As was mentioned, I do support the project. A tremendous amount of work and negotiation went into it. The applicant participated in a very robust community process. We had public community meetings and meetings with neighboring condominium associations. And we were able to negotiate a host of public safety improvements and traffic flow improvements as a result of this project. CDOT will be working with the applicant to implement a pilot program that would reconfigure traffic direction on Canal to one-way northbound and Clinton to one-way southbound as they once originally functioned. It'll provide about $250,000 in funding towards an area-wide railroad crossing signal public safety upgrade project, one that is sorely needed, but the city does not have the money to pay for. A $3.1 million payment to the Neighborhood Opportunity Bonus, including just shy of $2.5 million for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and a little over $311,000 for each the Local Impact and Adopt a Landmark funds. They reconfigured the building access and traffic circulation as a result of this process, including a secondary drop-off lay-by lane near the rear of the building, which is accessible from Clinton Street. It also resulted in the creation of a covered dog-friendly area under the Clinton Viaduct with a canopy structure to protect dogs and their owners. The inclusion of a pedestrian walk across the southern portion of the property. That is already a de facto public walkway, but is not improved with the necessary ADA compliance and safety. The developer will provide for that. And this will also include the creation of 34 affordable units at Elm Street Plaza, not far away. This project will also create 17 permanent jobs in the building and approximately 600 or so construction jobs. And the projected annual property tax revenue is about $1.9 million a year upon stabilization. I'm also very happy to report that the Habitat Company is committed to hiring a diverse workforce to construct this project. They will utilize 26% of qualified and certified minority business enterprises and 6% of women-owned business enterprises on this project, and hire Chicago residents to make up 50% of their workforce. I want to thank the development team for incorporating our requested changes to their original proposal and for responding to legitimate neighborhood concerns about traffic flow and safety. So I'd like to thank my colleagues in advance for your favorable consideration of this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Walter Burnett has his hand up. Walter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to you, Alderman Rowley. You always bringing the big projects to the city of Chicago. I just wanted to ask, what's going on with the tire shop? Cassidy, were they closed or are they moving?
I can answer that, Alderman. The plan is to close it.
So who's the owner? Is it Mr. Cassidy, the owner of Cassidy Tire Shop?
I confess I don't know the full ownership structure. I believe it's a pretty complicated family ownership structure. It's a multi-generational family business.
All right, fantastic. Fantastic job, Alderman. I used to represent this area. I know how involved and intense you had to be with all of the people living over there, especially the folks who live right on the river there in that building on the other side. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman. How about Alderman Villegas? Gil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to congratulate my colleague from the 42nd Ward, and also let's think about the alderman of the 42nd Ward delivering the message to the developers that we want to make sure that there's minority women-owned business enterprise. And I know that as of recent, that's been a discussion that the city council has brought forward, and I'm just proud to see that the alderman from the 42nd Ward is assisting those members in delivering the messages to the developers, especially since Alderman Riley gets these large mega projects in his ward. So I just want to say thank you for listening to the members and relaying that message to the developers. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions? Hearing none, I just wanted to compliment the Alderman and also to do a shout out to Dan Levin, his work with Habitat throughout the city for a few generations, I think, Dan. So thank you for your continued commitment to our city and projects that almost span every ward that I know of. So with that, I would like to get a motion to move to pass on this item by the same roll call as the quorum roll call vote this morning.
Alderman Kappelman moves to pass.
Alderman Kappelman moves to pass on the item as revised. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is passed as revised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now we're going to, again, 42nd Ward, number 20376. The ordinance was referred on April 22nd of 2020. The common address, 400 North Lakeshore Drive, change request, residential business plan development number 368 to residential business plan development number 368 as amended. Rich Clouder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Infamous
I
site.
hope you can all hear me.
We can hear you.
Good afternoon. Again, Rich Clouder from DLA Piper. Katie Jenke Dale and I have the pleasure of representing the applicant here, which is RMW Streeterville LLC, which is a wholly owned affiliate of Related Midwest, in this application for an amendment to plan development number 368 for the property located at 400 North Lakeshore Drive. The applicant seeks an amendment to PD number 368 in order to facilitate the construction of 2 residential towers on the property at the locations reflected on the renderings before you. Towers will be located along Lakeshore Drive, kitty corner to the proposed DuSable Park, to which the developer is contributing $10 million to launch the design and construction to occur in sequence with the construction of the 2 towers. The PD amendment was considered and recommended for approval by the Chicago Plan Commission on May 21st, 2020, and we would request a motion to the effect that the transcript of those proceedings and the resolution from the Plan Commission be incorporated into the record here today.
Alderman Kappelman moves to incorporate the records of the Plan Commission by the same roll call vote as this morning's quorum zoning vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the item is Incorporated. Continue, Rich.
Thank you, Chairman. PD 368 was established in 1985 and was amended in 2007 to authorize the construction of 1,200 units and a 25 FAR on what was formerly referred to as the site of the Spire. The current proposal would reduce the overall FAR by 50% to 15.92 and reduce the unit count to 1,100 units. To achieve the required FAR, the developer will pay nearly $4 million into the fund which supports the construction of affordable units and provides rental assistance and relief to low and moderate income tenants. As mentioned, there is a host of public benefits associated with this project, not the least of which is the creation of additional and publicly accessible open space and the commitment to fulfill the 35-year-old dream that was conceived to build DuSable Park. The applicant presented the proposed development at community meetings hosted by the 42nd Ward on May 15th, 2018, and again on March 10th, 2020. The developer is engaged with community partners, immediate neighbors, and local community groups, as well as the Alderman's office, which resulted in significant design changes being made to the plan, including substantial design changes eliminating the originally proposed hotel and podium, enhanced traffic circulation, enhanced pedestrian access to DuSable Park from the Riverwalk, widened pedestrian pathways, increased security coverage and lighting, and directed service and rideshare trips to Lakeshore Drive. The project is expected to cost in excess of $1 billion. It will create approximately 2,600 temporary jobs and 50 permanent jobs. The developer's exemplary and extensive track record should give this body comfort that it will easily achieve the minimum goal of participation of at least 26% from minority-owned firms, at least 6% from women-owned firms, and 50% hiring of community residents. And the workforce will be truly representative of the diversity of our city. Related as the industry leader in community diversity and inclusion, it has let more than $250 million in M and WBE contracts since their founding, and regularly partners with local leaders and consultants to foster community involvement. Throughout the course of their history, they have hired 450 community residents across 25 projects and themselves launched 15 small business startups to give them a first opportunity. Nicole, if you can go to the, I think what would be the last slide. I just want to spotlight one thing, which is that although the image that I think you'll see in a minute is difficult to read, we've created a map that shows the numerous and diverse points of connection Related has made along the way in forging community partnerships and enabling and launching women and minority-owned startups and mentorships. You can see that across the city, particularly in South and West Side neighborhoods, Related Midwest has been a difference maker and a change agent in bringing diversity and inclusion to the construction trades and small businesses. I want to mention in closing that the applicant has worked closely with Alderman Riley and DPD and CDOT on this project. Indeed, as recently as yesterday, late in the day, we were provided with letters from the Riverview Condominium Association identifying two particular concerns which we have already advised Alderman Riley we will address immediately. Specifically, the developer has agreed that as soon as possible, they will work with the condominium association to negotiate a joint maintenance agreement to ensure long-term maintenance of the landscaping improvements that will be located on the association's land adjacent to the Riverwalk. In addition, while the PD statements already include language requiring the developer to update their traffic study after the completion of the first of the two buildings and prior to the construction of the second, we have agreed that to the extent possible, the updated traffic study, which is required under the PD, will be based on data in real time that corresponds to actual occupancy and parking ratios and trip generation from the phase one project, such that the traffic study can more comprehensively and accurately contemplate any required upgrades or improvements that are warranted and directly attributable to the first phase of the project, and which will of course be borne by the developer. I wanted to state this on the record and thank Alderman Riley in particular for balancing the legitimate concerns of this small group of neighbors with the construction of this $1 billion project. We appreciate your time and consideration of this project, and I and members of the Related Midwest team, including Kurt Bailey and Don Bernacki, are available to answer any questions you may have. We also have with us the project architect Ryan Culligan from SOM for any design questions committee members may have. We respectfully request that you recommend City Council approval of this application, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rich. Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Chairman Tunney, and members of the committee. This prominent site on the Chicago River and lakefront has remained undeveloped for a decade, since the super tall Spire development stalled as a result of the global recession and financing challenges that ensued. In 2018, after acquiring the site, Related Midwest proposed the construction of 2 residential towers that would be connected by a tall podium base. In the original proposal, the towers would have measured 1,100 feet and 850 feet respectively, with a total of 300 condo units, 550 rental apartments, 175 hotel rooms, and 750 parking spaces. After a thorough public process, we received lots of opinions and feedback from the surrounding neighborhood and stakeholders from across the city. People shared legitimate concerns regarding the hotel use, the tall podium base, traffic concerns for East-North Water Street, and security issues on the Riverwalk and at the future DuSable Park. Following meetings with SOAR, which is the Neighborhood Association of Record for Streeterville, and meetings with other local stakeholders, we condensed all of those concerns into a working punch list of infrastructure and design issues that the developer would be required to address. Many months of difficult negotiations ensued to address concerns on that punch list. In March 2020, nearly 2 years after the original proposal was publicly presented, SOAR and I co-hosted another public presentation to allow the developer to share the revised proposal before a nearly full ballroom at the Hotel Intercontinental. The current proposal consists of 2 residential buildings of 875 feet and 765 feet in height, with approximately 1,100 residential units with ground floor commercial and amenity space. The applicant has worked hard to address community concerns, including eliminating the previously proposed hotel and large building platform, shifting the commercial loading to Lakeshore Drive only, providing safe access to the future DuSable Park, and ensuring that all pedestrian paths are safe and secure. In addition to addressing architectural and open space concerns, we conducted a very thorough review of multiple traffic and loading studies with CDOT. As a result, the developer made major design and infrastructure changes to improve traffic flow, loading, and public safety in the surrounding area. The following improvements are going to be funded entirely by the developer. These are just a few examples to give the committee members a flavor for what was negotiated. 6 new security cameras and 38 light fixtures in the adjacent Riverwalk and landscaped areas, leading pedestrian intervals on the following signal locations. These are the advanced pedestrian crossings in busy intersections at Columbus Drive in Upper North Water Street, Peshtigo Court and Illinois Street, southbound intermediate Lakeshore Drive off-ramp. These are all areas that have been identified as public safety concerns. The developer's investment will address those directly. We'll have ADA accessible sidewalk ramps with appropriate slopes and detectable warnings along the west side of Lakeshore Drive at the southbound exit ramp leading to the site. That's very important for obvious reasons. We will also have divvy stations installed. In addition to infrastructure improvements, this project is going to deliver. The developer is also committed to $10 million towards the design and construction of DuSable Park. This important public open space in the 42nd Ward will be connected by a landscaped riverfront walkway that extends to DuSable Park and Navy Pier flyover. Including DuSable Park, this project will deliver over 4.5 acres, or 200,000 or so square feet of new public open green space. The project will also benefit the City of Chicago with a $3.9 million payment to the Affordable Housing Fund and the creation of nearly 3,000 jobs. I am pleased to report Related Midwest is also committed to hiring a diverse workforce to construct the project, as was previously committed by Council in earlier testimony. Although this was a long and difficult negotiation, I believe it has resulted in a far superior project to the one that was initially proposed. I want to thank SOAR, neighborhood residents, and stakeholders from across the city for all of their feedback and suggestions throughout this lengthy process. I also want to thank the Department of Planning and Development and CDOT for all of their help in securing these important public improvements for the neighborhood at the developer's expense. So for all these reasons listed below, I would respectfully request a favorable vote by the Committee on Zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Do we have questions from committee members?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Hopkins has a comment.
Yeah, and Congratulations, Alderman Riley, on once again leading a very detail-oriented and lengthy community process. I've been observing this from the next ward over, and of course, I did have a little bit more than just passing interest in it. I joined SOAR back in 1999, and one of the first projects that I worked on was SOAR in opposition to a plan to turn what is now DeSable Park, or what will be DeSable Park, into a surface parking lot that the Chicago Park District felt at the time would be a very profitable surface parking lot for them, and they made the economic case that that's what it should be. We opposed that, obviously, and here we are all these years later. At last, finally, decades down the road, the vision for what DuSable Park should have been all along is about to come to fruition. And it was a long, winding road to get here, involving toxic thorium, all sorts of other issues. I'm just delighted, Alderman Riley, that this project by Related Midwest, among the many things that it will accomplish, will bring about the funding to finally construct DuSable Park on this very prominent piece of Chicago's front yard. So congratulations to you, to SOAR and all the community residents, those that do have some outstanding issues. I'm sure they appreciate your pledge to work closely with them to kind of settle the final minor traffic questions that have been raised. This is a great project, and I'm pleased to offer my support. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman. Other questions? Before we take a vote on this, I just wanted to thank the team and especially Alderman Riley. As was noted in the initial presentation, there's a tremendous reduction, if I'm not mistaken, Alderman Riley, on what was the FAR. Obviously, the height is much different, but it seemed to me
This was a downscaled version of what had already passed that was never built. Is that correct, Alderman?
Well, actually, the original proposal would have constructed a 1,500-foot tall residential tower. But yes, this is scaled back a bit from the original proposal that this developer brought to us. And that's really the result of removing the hotel use and a very large podium base. It would have blocked off the neighborhood west of Lakeshore Drive from seeing the lake and eventually DuSable Park. And so those two design changes resulted in the height coming down, but that happened almost as a result of the uses changing. Not because the neighbors were upset about the height of the original proposal. It just happened organically that way.
The architecture is stunning, as we mentioned during Plan Commission, so congratulations. So I would like to ask for a motion to move to pass on this item by the same roll call vote as the quorum vote earlier today.
Alderman Hopkins so moves.
Alderman Hopkins moves to pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Opinions share the ayes have it. This item is passed as revised.
Thank you very much.
Before we go on to our last item, since we're in the 42nd Ward, I just wanted to have a moment of silence, I should say, for Alderman Burton Terrace, who obviously was 36 years the alderman in downtown. And I know that Alderman Riley had some very generous words and for the alderman, but you know, a life well lived and served for the city. So just take a 15-second moment of silence on this one. Thank you. Okie doke. We're on our last item, and that being number 20299 in the 27th Ward. Ordinance was referred on December 18th of 19. The common address is 900 through 918 West Fulton Market and 300 through 308 North Peoria. Katie, are you on the call?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Great.
Proceed, please.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Katie Jenke-Dale from the law firm of DLA Piper. Along with my colleague, Liz Butler, we represent the applicant for this matter, Shorewood Development Group. As a preliminary matter, I'd like to note that this matter was heard at the May 21st, 2020 Plan Commission hearing, and we request that the committee accept the hearings and the transcript and findings from that hearing into the record today.
Alderman Hopkins moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the last favorable roll call vote on the quorum vote this morning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is incorporated. Continue, Katie.
Great, thank you. As you can see, the property is located at the northwest corner of Peoria and Fulton. It's currently zoned C11. The applicant is seeking the rezoning of the property to a DX5 and then to a business plan development to allow for the reuse of 2 contributing buildings located on the corner and to the far west of this on the slide that you see, and then new construction in the place of a non-contributing building in the middle. In doing so, the PD will approve up to a 3.1 FAR bonus, which would result in a bonus payment of up to $726,000. We worked with the various community groups on this project, as well as with Alderman Burnett. This project also, in addition to going to the Plan Commission, was reviewed and approved by the Landmarks Commission, all of whom have received the project favorably. So with that, we're here. We also have the applicant and the architect, Sophie Beidick from Hartshorn Plunker, on the line if there are any questions, but we do respect this committee's approval or recommended approval of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. As the councilor said, they met with, we have 3 community organizations in this particular area, West Loopgate, West Central, and now they all approved the project. We had a community meeting, which we had several people to attend. We didn't have anyone that object to this development. It's very refreshing to see that that this developer can take existing landmark buildings and add things to it, right, without destroying the building and keeping the integrity of the landmark. So we really appreciate this development. This is one of the ones that will show everyone else that you still can make money even though we have landmarks in these communities. I support this. My community supported. We ask for the committee support also. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Do we have any questions from committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move to pass this item by the same roll call vote of the quorum vote this morning?
So moved by Alderman David Moore.
Alderman David Moore moves to pass on the item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The item is passed as revised.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. All right, now we just have a few signs that we've got to bring up on the agenda, and I will start with large signs over 100 square feet in area, 24 feet above grade. We will hear them all together. I will read the ward followed by the address and take a motion at the end. In the first ward, 1471 North Milwaukee. In the first ward, also at 2639 North Elston. In the 32nd ward, 2366 North Damon Avenue. 3 signs in the 41st ward at 513 Express Center Drive. In the 42nd ward, 71 East Wacker. And lastly, in the 45th ward, 5211 West Lawrence Avenue. Any questions from committee members?
No questions.
Okay. Can I have a motion to pass on the orders by the same roll call vote as the quorum zoning vote this morning?
So moved.
Alderman Burnett moves pass on these items. In opinion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, these items and these orders are passed and will be reported out tomorrow at the city council meeting. With that being said, do I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by David Moore. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion chair, the ayes have it. This meeting is ended, and I appreciate your patience through all this. And
we'll take Alderman Beal up on his promise, and hopefully we can get back into session together as colleagues. Thank you very much.